Hello and welcome to Mini a Day. I'm Patty. Wanted to show you how to weave a wicker couch from crochet thread. I'm giving information about my reference, and this was Chris. I actually have been watching her site for a long time. She has a website and does slides and showed how to make a wicker chair. What I'm showing you today is a couch. We'll be walking through the steps. First thing, obviously, is to come up with your pattern, which I measured another couch that I had as an example to give me an idea. And this is a love seat. Used cardboard, craft foam, tacky glue, banker's clips, crochet thread, and beeswax, as well as 20 gauge wire. So you basically come up with your pattern, and I use small craft foam because that's what I had. Taped it together, used several layers to add the thickness that you want to create the form that you need. Each layer I glued. I used the banker's clips, and I used white cardstock as my final form pattern. Now for the back, that's strictly going to be a form that you mold your wires over. The base, which you see now, I used 4 layers of cardboard plus the craft foam, and that actually will be used in the couch. So I wanted to make sure it was nice and sturdy since it is paper. And just, I know the pencil's upside down, but I wanted to show you the form. And so the goal with our website is how can you make things from what you have, be economical, be creative, try to get children and adults involved, families involved, and not spend a fortune, but have something really cool that you've made. It's not perfect, but life isn't perfect either. So these are just the steps, and you can stop as you go along and see how I've gone step by step. You also need some wire cutters to cut the wires, and this is the crochet thread I had, and that's exactly what the one website recommends. Some I've seen actually get the waxed threads, and you can get all sorts of different kinds, but I just used regular old beeswax and ran my cord through. And it's a good idea to measure all of your wires first and then sort them out. I tried to label them with a marker. It didn't work, but at least I had how many I wanted. So you're going to put holes through the seat, and you need to have enough extend under so that you can have it rest on legs and have it high enough that it's going to go over the form. This is a peacock chair I had, and this is a couch someone had made. So I use those as my examples for height. I needed to make sure the legs were tall enough, the right height, as well as the back being as high as I wanted. So these are just, they're not all the best quality, sorry. It's hard to hold with one hand and photo with the other, and you can see as I put the wires in, I glued them top and bottom through the base. Let the base dry overnight so it was nice and tight. And you can see there are multiple holes, and if you want to count them, you can. I tried to use the reference from her site, and basically I wanted to have, because it was a love seat and I had never seen a pattern for one, I wanted to have a stabilizing leg in the front and the back and the center, as well as the 4 corners. So those are going to be longer than the front legs, and you'll see as we go along. It looks a little hairy right now, but it does make sense as you go along. And the main thing is to make sure they're tight inside this base so they're not going to be wiggling around. So you may have to add more glue. And just experiment. That's the fun of it. I know there are a lot of pictures, but I'm the kind of person, if you can show me, I can do it. Now you see the back, I'm just holding it in place because I'm going to mold those wires over that back. The front has cardstock, the back is cardboard, the back of the back. And this is the base. You can see how the wires have come through the base. So you've got a nice clean looking front, even though you're going to cover it with crochet thread. Makes it a little better. Now some people actually use wires that have thread wrapped around them, and you could purchase those as well, but I used what I had, and that was the whole purpose. It took me a long time. I won't lie. It was a challenge, But as you do these things, it gets a little easier. You can see all the glue that I've put. Now you notice here I have your wires on the front obviously should be at the level of the seat because you're going to be putting your cushion on there and you don't need them sticking through. So you start with the crochet thread with a beeswax wrapped around one corner, and I taped it so that it would get loose. And you wrap around twice. Sorry, this one's blurry. Wrap around twice on that one corner, and then you weave in and out. And you can come up with all sorts of different weaves. I just did a basic in and out weave all the way around, and then changed it a bit as I went around. This is my first try, so I will not say that I'm an expert by any means. But you just, by hand, take that thread and weave it in and out. And you'll see I used a bamboo skewer to push the threads down. You want them as tight as possible so that you don't have open spaces, and it keeps the wires tight and gives you the form, the design, and the shape that you want. So you just keep going in and out, all the way around. I did the top first, the base last, but I wanted to walk you through and just show you what it looks like. And this is something you can actually do in front of the watching TV. If get children involved, it's a great way to teach them certain things like weaving. And so it's fun. And I found too, as I was weaving it, I would try to make sure it was tight, the threading was tight, so that you don't have a lot of spaces. And if you do, it's okay. That's where your threaded wires would come in nicely, because then you wouldn't see those metal wires. But when you see the finished product, you'll notice there are very few areas where you might see it. And when I looked at my own wicker couch, I realized I could see the bamboo. Sadly, I tried to take my neighbor's bamboo that was young and wet it and tried to make bamboo, but I wasn't successful. So this was my alternative. You can see the wires here, but again, as you push down with that skewer, you're going to keep making it tighter and tighter. So I hope it's helpful. And you'll see I put numbers, and those are my center sections, because 11 and 13 gave me the center of the sides and the back to keep me focused, because there's so many wires. How can you know which one is your center wire, especially if they move up and down? And you'll see the shape is starting to take on the sides. It's not just a box, it's actually rounding, and that's the pressure you're using from your thread. And I tried to show side and top views, and again, I apologize for blurry, but now you can start seeing the in and out, and you'll see at the upper part, I changed my weave a bit. So I went over 2 wires and then alternated. So I ended up with 2 over, 1 under, 1 over, and around. You can do all sorts of really neat designs, and those of you who are weavers, you'll know that I could have probably done a better job. At the very top, you'll see it's over and under, because I wanted that effect on the top. Don't worry about that craft foam. Now, hindsight, I would have used a white craft foam, but it worked out. So you can see the over and under at the top. Now you'll see a couple of them are smushed close together. Just take your wire, move it before you're totally through, so they're nice and even. This is the bottom where I started weaving over and under, and I use that. Now on the end pieces, every time on the top and the bottom, double loop it with your thread on the very top and the bottom, on the end piece is what I'm trying to say. And it gives a nice finished effect there. And there you can see the bottom, and you'll see I put the tape when I started it, and try to secure it as tightly as you can to that base. And I know you're probably looking at this blue craft foam going, now what do I do? This is a mess. I did the same thing, but keep watching. It's fun. So you can see the over, under, pretty little weave. You can see also where I have the longer ones in the center and the end. that gives you an idea of where my center stabilizing. Something else that this lady had mentioned was to put glue on the ends of your wires. I tried that. Don't put them on a paper towel or a napkin or a piece of paper because the glue will stick and you'll have to pull your wires off. But it didn't work for me. Now, I took 3 strands of crochet thread to make a braid. This was my first experience at a braid. And so that was for the top. Now to do that, measure around the whole circumference and add plenty of extra. I ended up doing double. Now you see that one I did about 5, and then another one I did 7. And you need to clip what's left at the top so that you can glue your braid on, but be very careful. If you clip too close to the edge, all of your crochet thread will unwind and you'll have a mess. So you need to have enough that will fit through that braid, but it won't be injuring anyone. And now you can see I'm putting the braid on the edge and you simply glue it on. This is before I put it on, just to show you what the wires look like. And I had to trim it again. I recommend putting a paper towel around the wires and clipping so that they fly off inside the paper towel and they don't harm you or anyone else. So then I just took the Aleene's clear glue, and you can use any brand that you like, and you can see the glue on there. There's your skewer, and I'm just showing how you just press down on it. There you go. It's a still. It gives you an idea of what the crochet thread looks like as it's woven. Some of these are out of sequence, but I did that just to kind of reference back. And now, see the several where I did 5 and 7 strands? That goes over your blue, or my blue, craft foam on your base to cover it up. And I use several strands of that around, and just wanted to show you. And it's really pretty when you get through. You just glue it on and make sure it's dry. And then before I pull that tape off, I lift the tape and I glue it really, really well to the base. And I have a finishing touch I put on here that I hadn't seen anyone do before, but you'll see it in a few minutes. So here's your base. Now, you have to trim where you want that to end. And again, don't trim too close. Once you've trimmed your wires to the edge that you want, glue it all in place so that the threads don't come off the ends of the wires. And this is just showing the glue. And just, and if you get glue on your skewer, wipe it off. But, and then you'll see on the legs, the center and the front and back legs, I just kept wrapping the crochet thread around, all the way around to the tip, glued it in place so that you could have it nice and tight and give you that finished edge. I mean, you could even put a little hot glue on the base of it if you wanted. So you can see now I've got my braid, but I still have some wires sticking out. So I have to carefully trim those and make sure the glue is dry. If it's still soft, it's going to come off. And you'll see at the bottom, same thing. So I have to, with my wire cutters, go in there and trim those once it's all dry. The top doesn't look like it, but those have been trimmed to the base. So here's your finished love seat, wicker couch. And turned out really pretty. I was really thrilled. Imagine the thread that actually has the beeswax in it is probably a little tighter than what I did, but for my first session, I'm pretty pleased. So now you've got cardboard staring at you on the bottom. I decided I would take a wood-like vinyl, which happened to be contact paper. I had my pattern already. I double-checked to make sure it was going to fit, and I glued it. I know it has adhesive, but I wanted to make sure it was secure. So that's just showing where I fit it in to make sure it fit. And then I glued it in place. And it just gives you, it's not exactly what I wanted, but it's what I had. So I glued it in place. And then we're going to be using the Hawaiian cotton fabric that I used on the bar stools for cushions, and that'll be our next video. But this is a close-up to show you. If you have any threads that are kind of sticking out that didn't quite get woven the way you wanted them, you could always glue them in place. So here's the finished couch with a cushion. I'll show you in the next video. I actually piped the edges, which was fun. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you'll come back. If you do like our site, please like, subscribe, share. And if you subscribe, then you'll get the next videos as they come. Hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching.